It's just gone lunchtime. This is All Angles here on eNCA. Good afternoon. I'm Masinda. It is that time of the day when we give you an update on how far some of the stories we've been following up for you here on Channel today have advanced. Here's your lunchtime update. Our reporters are out and about bringing you the latest on today's top stories. I am joined by Heidi Giokos in our Johannesburg studios. Hloni Mtimkulu also joins us from Johannesburg, and Ronald Masinda is in the Eastern Cape. Heidi, let me start with you. We have had better days in terms of load shedding lately, with Eskom implementing lower stages, but the risk of higher stages remain, and that's according to the electricity minister, right?
Yes, certainly, Masejo. We're not out of the woods as yet, but there are definitely green shoots, and this is according to the Minister of Electricity. We've been experiencing a lot more electricity than usual, and we don't want to jinx it, because every time we speak about how happy we are that we have lower stages of load shedding, we then pushed up to stage 6. But according to the Minister, it seems as though the hard work that has been put in for some time to try and stabilize the grid and increase the energy availability factor is now starting to yield some good results. And according to the Minister, things seem to have stabilized somewhat, but we do know that our generating units are unreliable and they aren't certain. So you might have a situation where in the next hour or two, generating units might be faulty or trip, and that pushes us up into high stages of load shedding. Kusile Power Station still remains the power station that's going to possibly take the country out of load shedding at the end of October and end of December. Units are going to be put online, which is going to add an additional 2,000 megawatts to the grid, which means 2 stages lower of load shedding. And we're currently on stage 2, Masejo, so that might mean that we might not see any stage of load shedding in December if all goes according to plan. Before we listen to what the Minister had to say, I want to also just touch on the fact that municipalities are defaulting on their payments to Eskom also remains a huge problem for Eskom to be able to sustain itself, to be liquid, and to be able to perform optimally. We do know that Eskom cannot continue with its maintenance or infrastructure programs because of the billions and billions that are owed by the various municipalities across the country to Eskom. One would ask, why is this still happening? Because it's not the first time we're hearing municipalities not paying, but the Minister is saying they're trying to have these discussions with municipalities so that they understand the severity of the fact that they owe billions to Eskom. Let's listen to the Minister.
I must say that over the past 2 weeks or so, we have seen a significant and positive improvement in the generation capacity, and this is largely as a result of the work that our generation team, led by Mr. Mtimkulu and the rest of the managers at the various stations, have been doing. It's also as a result of the work that has been done by the team at Eskom in ensuring that we are able to attend to issues of demand side. But this work, as we see that the intensification of load shedding is easing, is not made easier by the fact that municipalities are still confronted with a major problem of illegal connections. We do have certain parts of the country that remains in the dark, even outside the load shedding schedule, when we have load shedding as a result of the failure of distribution infrastructure. We know, as I sit here, that municipalities are owing Eskom upwards of 64 billion rands, and that figure is increasing. At last count, year to date, the increase was over 4 billion rands, and there's no sign of that increase abating anytime soon.
All right. Now, Hloni, we know the provision of water remains a major challenge across our country. You were with the Jan Hofmeyer community in Johannesburg earlier today. They took their anger to the streets during peak hour traffic. What exactly is their situation?
Yeah, Masocho, so they have not had a steady supply of water in weeks. more than a month, in fact, and up to 6 weeks. And this is this round of not having water. They do worry that they will have a repeat of last year's situation where they went for a period of 7 months without water. And what's more frustrating for the community is that they keep hearing something from Johannesburg Water and they keep hearing something from Rand Water. And this back and forth, they call it, between the two. And ultimately, whatever these two entities are saying, they do not have taps coming out of their water. So it's a very frustrating situation for them. And so they did decide that today would be the day when they take their cries to the streets. They have had a situation where under the previous Johannesburg Mayor Thapelo Ahmad, he came to the area and he made promises to them about their water situation, but that does not seem to have been addressed. And now they want the new mayor, Kabelo Kwamanda, to come and address them as well. And they're threatening all sorts of things. They're threatening, first of all, to continue with what they did today. It was a bit of a small picket, but it was still disruptive. And they are then threatening to possibly have a sit-in, possibly at the mayor's offices or somewhere around the council, just to make their plight heard and to try and understand why they don't have water. Another frustrating thing for them is that on one side of the Jan Hofmeer community or the Brixton area, there is no water, and on another side there is water. And so I think that also creates a bit of tension, a bit of confusion, uncertainty for the neighbors, that why do we not have water while other people do have water? We were at an old age home there and they've got water tankers that supply water to them. But the fact that they don't have water coming out of their taps means you're having elderly people having to walk with buckets to get water. Some of them have had to pay people to get water for them because they're not strong enough to carry that water. And there's just a lot of frustration in terms of this situation that is happening to them. But let us hear from the residents, some of them that were out this morning, in terms of how they're being affected by the water shortages in the area.
These JoJo waters we don't want to drink, so we've got to boil it, which is also another unfair. So when we go to the toilet I measured takes 10 liters of water. Now 10 liters every time. That is unfair. What happens in the middle of the night? You sit without water. You have to come outside. You don't know if you're safe. Someone must do something. We've been living with this for a long, long time.
It's disgusting for the old age people. I live in an old age home. For us to carry buckets for the toilet, we can't even do washing. And I'm not talking for myself, I'm talking about everyone. Older people than what I am has got to carry buckets. It's not fair. They sit in their offices and they earn their money, and we live on our pension, 2,000. We must pay people to go and fetch water for us. And I think this is nonsense. These councillors must also come to the party here.
Quite a lot of frustration there, Hloni. Ronald, let me come to you. You're also looking at the dire state of our water crisis, and you were particularly at the Nqamakwe Community Health Centre that has not had water for weeks now. Apart from the dry taps, patients also say they've been subjected to long waiting periods to see a doctor.
Yes, good afternoon, Masekho. Well, it's hard to imagine that in 2023 that we will still see people using wheelbarrows as a mode of transport. And this is the harsh reality that many people from areas like Nqamakwe have to face. I mean, earlier today we saw a disabled person being transported by using a wheelbarrow, as the Nqamakwe Community Health Centre does not have an ambulance, nor does it have wheelchairs for those who need them at this stage. And we also decided to go undercover to check the conditions inside of this health facility. And what we saw, Masekho, just taking a tour around the facility using cell phone footage, was that some or all of the toilets were actually not flushing, and a lot of people, patients who are inside this health facility, have to use the same toilets, and without any reason. A lot of people say that they haven't been given reasons by the health department as to when this issue will be fixed. And that is just one of many other issues. Overcrowding has been another issue, where a lady that we spoke to earlier says that sometimes she has to wait in line from 6 o'clock in the morning, only to be turned away for staff to tell her that they are closing because of the long queues and that she has not been able to be assisted. The other issue is a lack of accountability. Some say that even a doctor there told them that you'll only be back next year from leave. So cause for concern, and this is a big issue in Namakwa, as it is a big area with around 34 traditional leaders. And now you can imagine just the amount of people who go frequently to this particular health facility. Some have been told to go to areas like Butterworth, which is about 35-40 kilometers away to get medical treatment. And this, for many people, especially the impoverished, is worry because they cannot afford to travel that far. So we are still waiting to hear from the Eastern Cape Health Department in response to some of the questions that we forwarded them. But we also heard from one of the community leaders who has been following the story very closely.
We know that it was a hospital, but when time goes on, we notice that it's no longer been a hospital because there's no ambulances, there's no doctors, there's no facilities to help people who are sick. Earlier on, people used to sleep here, but when times go on, we notice that there's no bed to sleep. So they always send these people to Butterworth, whilst it's a problem because they don't have ambulances. You have to take your own patient and travel to Butterworth. That thing, as a whole, is a problem to our community in Namakwa.
All right, that was your eNCA lunchtime update from all angles with reporters Ronald, Masinda, Hloni, Mtimkulu and Heidi Giokos. Thank you, team. Let's leave it there for now.